No, I
I
think
guess.
it does. So I'm happy to get us started here. Hello, everyone. I'm Payton Shubrick from the class of 2015. And along with Kathy Maggi from the great class of 1991, I'm the co-chair of President's Council. I'm delighted to be with you all tonight, hosting the first of what will be many webinars as the President's Council co-chair. Many of you have noted how beneficial you found past webinars, and we look forward to an engaging webinar as we continue to build momentum around these virtual events. Before we get to our presenter, which I'm very excited about, I'd like to begin our event by reminding everyone that our annual President's Council Fall event has been scheduled for November 9th here on campus in the beautiful Performing Arts Center. We hope to see many of you there for what I'm sure will be a fantastic evening. And now I would like to introduce our speaker, Rob Murner. Rob is the director and entrepreneur in residence for the Ciocca Center for Business, Ethics, and Society. After retiring from corporate life in 2019, he came to Holy Cross as a visiting lecturer for a class he developed for the Ethics Society and the Institution of Business Minor. Prior to retiring, Rob had over 35 years of progressive engineering, sales, and operational experience building enterprise value for Fortune 500, private and startup organizations. He's worked across a diverse collection of industries, including aerospace and defense, power generation, communications, and healthcare networks. Rob has an extensive experience establishing and growing businesses in domestic and foreign markets, including Europe, China, Taiwan, and Russia. He has 2 children who have graduated college and are out earning a living, or as my father would say, cash flow positive, which we love to see. And Rob and his wife currently reside in Shrewsbury. It's my great honor to introduce Rob for what I'm sure will be an engaging presentation for you all today.
Thank you so much, Peyton, and thank you to the President's Council for this opportunity to present and talk about the wonderful things that our students are doing with the Ciocca Center. I am going to apologize a little bit. I lost my voice about a day ago, but I think we're good for 30 minutes to an hour. So I'll just go ahead and share. We are going to actually be looking at a presentation today, so you don't have to stare at my face the whole time. And let me just move some things out of the way. So we have a QR code up there, and you might be getting a link on your computers to our Instagram page. That's a great place to go if you just want to stay in tune with our programs, our workshops, our interaction with alumni, and just a lot of stuff that the students post. So I'll pause briefly to let folks take a picture of that or copy down the link. Right? Let's see if we can advance this here. Okay, here we go. So the agenda for today. We'll talk about the mission of the center, just a brief statement on our current student participation in our programs. I'll give you an outline of our certificate program structure, and I'll mention the 3 certificate programs that we currently have. We'll look at some program highlights, which is going to be a lot of fun because that's going to be mostly pictures of students at a handful of the workshops and programs that we do on an annual basis. I'll talk about our entrepreneurship and innovation program and what we've got up in store for this year. We have 10 student-led clubs that I'll briefly mention and then show you some of the activities from those clubs. We also have inspired 3 academic courses that are outside of the Ciocca Center. We are a co-curricular organization, but we were kind of the impetus for these 3 courses. I'll mention those. We did recently add some programs. We try to pilot at least 1 to 2 programs, new programs per year. And I'll show you the ones that we've recently added from our pilot programs from last year. I'll talk a little bit about our trajectory and just kind of mention how we're funded. And with that said, we'll just get going. For those of you that have not seen the prior Performing Arts Center, you're looking at just one small little piece of it. This is our marketing and PR group. It's one of our clubs called The Agency. And this is a networking event that they held last year. And I just thought it was a great backdrop for our current participation. Currently, we have 730 students that are enrolled in one of our 3 some multiple, but mostly one of our 3 certificate programs, that represents 23% of the student body, just to give you a feel. Our tagline is major in anything and succeed in business. The gentleman on the left is Art Ciocca. It's Art and Carly Ciocca's endowment that really allowed the center to take off several years ago. The gentleman to his right is Andreas Vidmer. Andreas is the director of the Ciocca Center at Catholic Universities of America. There is a third Ciocca Center at Santa Clara, which is Carly Ciocca's alma mater. The purpose or our mission is to position students to flourish in the domain of business. And we emphasize that really on the back of what a great liberal arts education is. We emphasize self-awareness, students knowing their values, their strengths and their weaknesses, and having more of a broad worldview. Ingenuity and critical thinking. For me, that's kind of a hammer and a nail concept, right? So I'm an aerospace engineer as an undergrad, and I think Brendan Grady from KeyBank said this when we were at his facility at KeyBank a week ago. He said, when you've kind of got a vocational education like an engineer, those are his words, you're kind of a hammer and you look at everything like it's a nail. So engineers tend to look at things from the perspective of an engineer. A business term I really like to emphasize is space of possibilities. A broader view, which is a big piece of a liberal arts education, really opens that thinking to a broader space of possibilities. And I think it's one of the big reasons that liberal arts, especially Jesuit liberal arts students, tend to matriculate up into leadership positions in the companies that they're at. And I've learned this since I've been here at Holy Cross and met some of these wonderful, wonderful alumni. Men and women for and about others. In business, we emphasize that as win-win with our stakeholders. And that's one of 5 pillars that Art Ciocca emphasized when he ran his businesses, which was the wine group. And then Magis, big, right? Energize yourself around others with big ambitions. What else can we be doing for our stakeholders? Those are just some of the threads that we key off of that are part of the liberal arts education. I'm going to give you a couple examples of men and women for others. These are 3 wonderful alumni that did our initial crosstalk series. It's a TED Talk format. This one keyed on 50 years of the 50th anniversary of Women at Holy Cross. From left to right, you're seeing Julie Halpin Anderson. She's an 84 grad and a French major, and she's president of Next Step Strategic Services. Francisco Rosado Cruz, in the middle, 94 graduate, and Carolyn Rizzoli, 86 history major. The Crosstalk series was intended, and it was as a home run, quite frankly. So we're coming up on our next series. These are Holy Cross alumni, obviously, that are focusing their talks on how their liberal arts really made them or was a big part of their success in business. And it's a wonderful series. These are recorded, and you can actually find them on our website. A recent thing that's another alumni-driven effort is our Fireside Chat, our Ciocca Insight series. And the theme for this year, as we kick it off next week, is finding your on-ramp to the new economy. Our first speaker or first guest in the Fireside Chat is going to be Tom Jessup. He's an 88 graduate, and he's the president of Fidelity Brokerage right here in Boston. And we already have our second speaker as well, Kristen Krager, 91 graduate sociology major, and she's the CEO of professional services for North America at Aon. So this is a series where we talk about big issues. It's a webinar format, it's recorded, and then we save these and catalog them for future use so students can go back and look at them. So just 2 examples of our alumni and their men and women for others attitude. Okay, our structure of our programs is pretty straightforward. They're designed to be very comprehensive. They emphasize networking and experiential learning and alumni shared experiences. We have 3 certificate programs to date, business fundamentals, financing, banking, and entrepreneurship. So The certificate programs are very rigorous. They take at least a couple of years to complete. We really emphasize or encourage freshmen to get involved. And I'll have to say, word of these programs are getting out, because when I do open houses for students, prospective students, they already know about them. So our table is pretty crowded, and I always do a presentation as well, and that's pretty full. So the structure is pretty simple. We have 5 alumni-led industry-specific workshops. They're slightly different between the 3 certificate programs. They have to take an advanced Excel tutorial, 3 courses that we think are business-facing from the college's course catalog across all majors, an interview prep course. Sorry, just getting my face out of the way here. And then an internship. There's also there's also a reflection on the 5 pillars of this book, The Art of Principled Entrepreneurship. And that is a book that Andreas Widmer wrote about Art Ciocca's business practices. The 5 pillars that he ran his businesses by are: the economy exists for people, not vice versa. To work is to create is to be human. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Principled entrepreneurs always seek to create win-win solutions. And then finally, think like an entrepreneur, which is an entrepreneur's mindset. So these are themes that we really try to bring through all 3 of our certificate programs. And the students are required to read this book and then reflect on their internship against those 5 pillars. Now the fun stuff, some program highlights. This is a program that's required for our business fundamentals certificate and our entrepreneurship certificate. It's Full Bridge Professional Edge. It's a deep dive into the domain of business. It emphasizes the profit and loss statement. The students break out into groups and are aligned with different companies, typically apparel companies. They have to come up with an idea to increase their revenues. And then there's a competition, a presentation competition at the end, where they win. Literally, the winning group gets a $300 gift certificate each, an Apple gift card, I believe it is. And that's an introduction. We like to see it early in the certificate process, so students kind of get immersed in the domain of business. The finance and banking students have a different requirement. It's our finance immersion, which we've just added. That is a 3-day kind of intensive deep dive into financial modeling, and it's very specific for the finance and banking minded certificate students. This is a picture from a couple of years ago, but I really love it. On the left, we're at Goldman Sachs, and we're looking across the river at Midtown. On the right is Brendan Grady at KeyBank. This is our finance boot camp, which we hold at the fall break every October. And we visit 4 firms, with a 5th firm hosting us at a networking event. This year, we were hosted by Morgan Stanley. We went to Piper Sandler, KeyBank again, JP Morgan. Morgan Stanley hosted our networking event. We went to and we went to CIBC as well. All really, really wonderful visits. And the students got a chance to learn about the companies, learn about the different jobs, and network with all of the alumni that were present. And there were quite a few. We have 2 ethics-focused workshops. On the left, that's business ethics. On the right is banking ethics. Some of you may know Larry Doyle. Larry's an alum, of course, and he wrote a book called In Bed with Wall Street. He's shaking hands with Rose Linkasamy, who got her job in the finance and banking industry on the heels of her junior year internship, which is very common for a lot of our students. So Larry is over the top, energetic, passionate, enthusiastic alum, and he teaches this workshop twice per year. So it's really great having him to do that. For the business fundamentals students, this is our global supply chain management. On the left, you can see our students in front of the library. We have 3 alumni that give presentations and help us communicate global supply chain. We also get to go visit Polar Beverage. Chris Crowley, one of the Crowley family that owns Polar, his granddaughter, I believe, went to Holy Cross. So he's a big advocate. They host us every year. So you can see over to the right, we're actually on the floor at Polar Beverage in groups. They break us up and they're seeing the supply chain in action at Polar Beverage. We also have a 2-day event, marketing, communication, and sales. PepsiCo, at least in my short tenure, seems to sponsor us every year, and they give us the challenge that the students actually work on as part of their hands-on and group presentation. Liberty Mutual, the Shift Group, and others have actually helped us with the marketing, communication, and sales workshop. This happens the third week of January before students come back from their break. We have a kind of a very similar to our finance and banking workshop or boot camp. We do a corporate finance boot camp down in Boston. We visit Natixis, Fidelity, Wellington, Bank of America with Ted Lynch every year. This is a shot of us at Fidelity a couple of years ago. I'm kind of hiding there in the background. But again, an opportunity for the students to meet a lot of alumni in the environment that they work in. And in these meetings, all of the time that we have students kind of interacting with our alumni community, it's an opportunity for them to see the power of their liberal arts education in the workplace. And of course, they have lots of questions about how might they position themselves and achieve the same result as some of our alumni. So that's a really big part of our programs is the alumni interaction. I think we're going to pause for questions at the end, if I'm correct. So I guess I'll just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to push forward.
That is in fact correct. We'll have time for questions at the end.
Okay, good. So we have a dedicated entrepreneurship and innovation program. I am the entrepreneur in residence as well as the director. So this is near and dear to my heart. This first page is just highlighting site visits that we go on. We shoot for 6 per year. This happens to be a picture at a Worcester company called Geisel Software. Very successful company. That's Brian Geisel sitting on the big pink ball. This is it's a tech company. So we had a lot of business-minded students and we were attracting a lot of STEM students too. I can attest firsthand the power of STEM in business. So we're always trying to attract more STEM students. The cool thing about Geisel Software, they do software for robotics, and some of their software is on the Mars rover, cruising around on the Mars planet right now, which is always fun to talk about. We already visited Petrichor, which is a gaming company right here in Worcester. 1024 is on the docket for next week. Go Imagine is a startup that we visited last year, and Mass Bio Initiatives. It's a wonderful incubator and trial. You can get all the way to trials of your drugs in this incubator accelerator environment. And John Weaver hosted us last year. He will be hosting us again this year. So students get to see early stage and startup companies. We have, just doing a time check. We have 2 pitch competitions right now. Our Innovation Challenge. Last year, that was sponsored by a business, Sideline Swap. Sideline Swap was created by Brendan Candon, who is a Holy Cross alum, a lacrosse player. And it's probably, if it's not the highest revenue, it's pretty close, used sports equipment trading site online in the country. We also have our Cross Tank, which is basically our version of Shark Tank series. And you're seeing Logan Mott and TJ Haig. We have 2 divisions, kind of businesses that are at minimum viable product and businesses are really more at the idea stage. So they were the winners of those 2 divisions. That's me on the left, and that's our associate director, Cassie Jeevery, on the right. We also do a lot in the community of Worcester. We've really done a lot of work to take our students, get them outside the walls of Holy Cross and into the local business community. On the left is an entrepreneurial ecosystem summit. It's put on by a group called the Venture Forum and a local incubator called Work Lab. And what that's all about, it's kind of a trade show where all of the different entities that cater to early stage and startup businesses in the Worcester area, like the Worcester Chamber, Small Business Administration, Work Lab, and so forth, E4All. There's all sorts of organizations that help businesses get off the ground. SCORE Mentorship is another one. They're basically there to talk to students. This started out as an idea for just a Holy Cross open house, but we ended up turning it into an intercollegiate open house. So we had probably 6 or 7 local colleges attend, and you can see some of our students in the foreground there. We also, for the first time last year, we did an intercollegiate Shark Tank competition. It's called Woo Tank. So Holy Cross, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, WPI, Nichols, and Clark participated. There's TJ Haig. He actually made it to the Woo Tank. He did get funding, and he also got in-kind marketing assistance from Geisel Software, who you just saw. So that's TJ presenting at the Brickbox Theater in downtown Worcester. We're told that Assumption will be joining us this year, and we think this is really going to grow. We actually had a minor local celebrity that was our MC, and we had very enthusiastic business people as sharks, and really, really, really exciting event. We dreamt this up with the Venture Forum, and it's pretty successful. The Wire Group, it's an angel investing group that I'm a member of, and I have permission during our monthly meetings where companies are pitching us for funding. I get to bring a student or two if I want to witness the business pitches and be in the room as the investors talk about what we saw. So that's just a fun thing that I get to do because I'm an angel investor with the Wire Group. We have 3 businesses. We had more, but the students graduated at the local incubator work lab, which the Ciocca Center does sponsor their memberships. TripFlick is one of them. That's TJ Haig's business. Dormy is a prior winner of our Shark Tank and is actually taking off. Holy Cross is a customer. WPI and Clark, they're close to closing. And then College Street Capital, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit, is also housed down at Work Lab. So it's really a great opportunity to get our students that are at least to minimum viable product down into an environment where they're rubbing elbows with other early stage startup entrepreneurs. And it's really, really beneficial. We're trying to get more activity with that as well. We have some really, really big ideas here. One of mine is to actually give our students the opportunity to manage a business. So what you're seeing there is a restaurant on Lake Quinsigamon that's been closed for several years. It was a Buca di Beppo. When my wife and I first moved to the lake, we lived just north of this picture, and that's Route 9 behind them. But we have this vision someday, and this is nothing that's like going on in advance or anything yet, but just a demonstration of where we'd like to take our offer to our students. That third level would be a business incubator. The middle level is actually the old restaurant. And I'd like to set that up so students could actually manage that for events. It wouldn't be, a 7-day-a-week restaurant, but it would be an event space for big rowing competitions, wedding receptions, and so forth. And it just so happens that there's a water level that could even be a boathouse for the Holy Cross rowers. So just an idea of kind of some of the magus that we're thinking about. But would be fun to leave that legacy. We have 10 student-initiated and student-led clubs. Agency is a marketing PR. College Street Journal is a publication that kind of mirrors the Wall Street Journal. We have a consulting club, finance club, equity research club. The entrepreneurship club is HC Launch. Insurance is relatively new. Real estate club, sales, and then women in business. I'll talk about women in business in a second, but they have their big annual conference coming up next weekend, I believe. This is just some fun shots of some of the events that the clubs hold. This is, I believe, the real estate club. This is an event that the sales club holds every year called Why Sales. And this is one of the rooms up at Hogan. And you can see it's a very, very popular club and a very, very popular event that they hold. This is Christine Anderson. She is a CEO. I want to make sure I get this right. I'm sorry. She's global head of corporate affairs at Blackstone. And she was our keynote speaker at the Women in Business Conference last year. And what you're seeing there on either side of her are the young women of Holy Cross that were on the committee that actually organized and ran this conference. Cassie Javery, who I mentioned earlier, is the constant force behind this effort too. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful event. If any of you get a chance to attend, you should really take advantage of it. This is a group of students I took to the University of Michigan, my alma mater, for an undergraduate investment conference that U of M hosts. These are students that were from the investment club, which is now the Equity Research Club. And the cool thing these students did, this is so liberal arts. I'm so proud of these students. So in the airport in Detroit, while we're waiting for our flight, they were really have been trying hard to get the college to open up their purse a little bit to give them real money to invest in stocks. That's what the investment group does. They pitch stocks and invest in them and kind of manage a fund. And they do it with kind of fake dollars. So in the airport, my only contribution to this business, College Street Capital, was to say, why don't you guys go find your own money? So what they came up with was a 501c3 hedge fund that they got $50,000 in donations last summer, which was right after they kicked off, and they managed 3 funds. There's a number of alum that are in, investing and have a background in that are mentors to them. It's all Holy Cross students, and the leadership rotates every year as the senior executives in the company graduate. I want to emphasize this is not a club. It is registered with the IRS. It is a full up running business, and they're housed down at Work Lab. Just incredible outside the box thinking. So proud of these students. This is a huge deal. So for those of you who don't know who you're looking at on the left, this is Joanna Garrity. She is a sociology major from Holy Cross, and she is the CEO of JetBlue Airlines, which to me, as a pilot, ex-military, and an aerospace guy, blows my mind. I think it's awesome. I would have never pictured a sociology major achieving such a position in a company like JetBlue. Just goes to show what I know. And this is part of my learning and just really, I don't know, just being blown away by the alumni I meet. So she is going to be our keynote speaker at the Women in Business. Plans that we have for this, we definitely are interested in looking for corporate sponsorship for this. And we would like to, if we could, establish Women in Business alumni chapters throughout the country. So that's kind of what we're thinking about going forward with the Women in Business Club and the organization. One of the cool things too that we have that's related to the clubs, we have a database called Alumni Huddle. And this is a database that the alumni put themselves in. So it's not the college's wonderful database that they keep up at Career Development. This is actually something that the alumni identify, they put themselves in, and then it's really aligned with our 10 clubs. So an alumni would put themselves in, and you're seeing some pictures of some that have done this. And then they put in their information, how they can be helpful, and they literally align themselves with the club that they want to mentor or coach. So we just put this in place at the end of last year, and we've got probably a little over 200 alumni that are already in the database that have aligned with the clubs. And I haven't updated my records in a while, so it might even be more than that. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity. It came to be because I had so many wonderful alumni calling me, asking me how they can get involved. And this was one of our solutions. We'll give you a direct line to our students, and you can identify, like if you're in sales, if you're in real estate, if you're in finance and banking, you can literally identify with students that are of like mind in these clubs. So far, so good, the Alumni Huddle. Okay, these are some recently added programs. On the left is our Global Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. This we outsource, similar to Fullbridge, to a company called Y Center. It's a program that's required for our entrepreneurship students, and it emphasizes design thinking, starting with an empathetic view of who the customer is going to be, and then working that backwards into causes, effects, and then an idea for a business. And Y Center really focuses on what they refer to as big issues, which really mean like the climate, the environment. It kind of stays out of politics, but things like equal pay. So it's really, really a great workshop. We're going to implement this starting next year, and we piloted it just a couple of weeks ago. In the middle, I already mentioned finance immersion. So these are some of the students, these are banking and finance students that we felt, finance immersion was just a bullseye to prepare them for their internships and entering the field of finance and banking. So we took the Fullbridge requirement out of their certificate and we've inserted finance immersion. It's all about financial modeling, the 3 financial statements and discounted cash flows and things like that. On the right, this is really cool. That gentleman's name is Bo Lescott, another alum. He contacted us and said, you know what? Excel is still big down on Wall Street in finance and banking, but Python and huge data sets and data analytics is really where it's heading. So he worked with a professor that has just recently went on sabbatical, Ed Soares, to create his data analytics for business course. We piloted it last spring, and it's actually now a regular workshop that we offer our students. And it's actually broken into 2 parts. First half is in the spring, second half is in the fall. Another great example of men and women in service of others. And Bo Lescott, I don't have enough time to tell you the work and effort that he's put into this. It's really, really impressive, and it's gaining a lot of popularity with our students. But time check. Okay. I think I'm going to go just over 30 minutes. So where are we going? I think that's important to talk about. I gave you one thought on the big, hairy, audacious goal of having an incubator and an event space that our students could actually run and manage. By the way, one thing I didn't mention, we didn't pilot this or come up with this idea. Nichols, which is a local college, actually has their own golf course with a restaurant, and their students run that. So I've already met with Tim Liptrap. He's the guy at Nichols, and I'm already getting ideas from him. Okay, if we want to do this event space and the students are going to run it, how are you doing it? So I'm already looking into that. And then at Catholic Universities of America as well, Andres Fidmer shared with me, because he's the director of the center there, that his students are now managing our equivalent or their equivalent of our Cafe Babel, which is a coffee sandwich shop. So we're hoping to kind of give our students some real experiential learning by actually running a business. Okay, so our trajectory. At 730 current students in our programs, that represents 23% of the current student population. We want to push that to 33%. We're going to do that by possibly, we're serious about it, but it's not done yet, adding a 4th certificate, a consulting certificate. And this would be consulting in the domain of like an Ernst & Young or a Baines type of consulting, or McKinsey. And then also, we're really interested in working with our semester abroad office, that's Jennifer Summerhays, to kind of come up with opportunities for students to intern, but intern internationally. We think that would really give that, combined with the liberal arts education, would really, really give them a leg up just in the domain of business. So those are just some of the ideas that we have to push us to 33%. Even if we don't do anything new, though, if we just look at kind of our ramp, we are growing very, very quickly, even without introducing new things. This is Wu-Tank again. So for the entrepreneurship and innovation, we're this semester starting to really put an emphasis on ideation, or creating ideas for businesses. We have an artificial intelligence tool that we've got a license for, so that the students can take their ideas, and this tool helps them kind of flush out their first business plan. It gives them a landing page, and it kind of guides them in an interactive manner towards getting their business through ideation, and if they're serious about it, even further. And then this is why we want to add more pitch competitions too, whether they're Holy Cross centered or opportunities that are in the local community. I am working with an alum from Northeastern University, because they've already done this. They actually have, they refer to it kind of as an alumni angel investing panel. It's really a grant-based angel investing fund where we could take our students that are coming up with ideas and are serious about maybe pitching them for money, really create that kind of opportunity for the students. So I'm working with a gentleman who's been there, done that, and so that's to come. The 3 classes, these are actual courses that are in the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies. Sorry, my voice has got me not speaking too clearly. Interdisciplinary Studies. Entrepreneurship is taught by Tom Payton, who's an 86 grad. Financial awareness, that one we're just now developing. It's going to be part of the academic internship program with JD Power. That will be taught by a local gentleman, Rich Carr, from the Carr Financial Group. And then the business fundamentals class, that's where I started here at Holy Cross. I was a race coach for alpine ski racing, and I taught this class. I'm in retirement, unhappy as a clam. But that's what got me into Holy Cross, and that led to this position I'm in now. And I have to tell you, I usually lead off the presentation by saying this, but I have the best job in the world, the best job in the world. I'm immersed in these students. I get to go out and work in the alumni community. It makes it easy to put up with the administrative side of my job. We would like to add one more class, though, and I'm already taking steps towards that. A sales course, where students that are serious about going into sales, which a lot of our students do, or just understanding professional consultative sales is just a great thing to have in your tool bag, no matter what you want to pursue after college. I believe. We are talking in early talks with Advancement to help us raise some money or maybe an endowment for our Bloomberg lab. We have 1 Bloomberg terminal now. If we buy 3 more, Bloomberg will give us 10 for free. So that'll get us up to, well, the numbers are wrong. If we buy 3 total, will give us 9 for free. So this should really be 12. That's my bad. And we'd like to have like a Bloomberg lab, like you'd see at the Ross School of Business at University of Michigan, or even Keene up in New Hampshire. New Hampshire has a Bloomberg lab. So that's one of our aspirations as well. And we are kind of inching towards that a little bit right now. And then I guess what I'll close with, this is the cohort that went down to Wall Street on fall break last week. And that's me on the left. I was very lucky to accompany them this year. And if Cassie will let me, I want to go every year because it's just a blast. But just some things to mention as I close. We are self-funded through endowments and restricted giving. We do not get any funding from the college. Endowments get us part of the way to the total cost of our programs, but it doesn't quite get us there. Right now, the students for some of these programs actually supplement us to around $140,000 a year. The programs where we got to do hotels and bus travel and things that we outsource, that's really where that money comes from. And then the Cioccas gave us a 5-year restricted gift in front of the endowment that they graciously gave us. That did end last summer. So I'm very interested in working with our advancement group to take care of that. And I guess I would just end with your continued support is greatly appreciated. Excuse me. At that point, I believe, yes, I am done with my presentation and ready for questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. What an engaging presentation. It almost makes me wish I was a student again, just thinking about all the amazing opportunities. And it's clear, despite your voice being a little raspy, that you're very much committed. And I'd be lying if I said I'm not a little jealous. It sounds like you do have quite an amazing job, and you're doing a wonderful service for our students and preparing them for the world of business. With that being said, I do see that we have some questions in the Q&A. However, we also had questions submitted prior to the start of the webinar. So we'll kickstart with a few of the pre-submitted questions, and then if time allows, switch to the live questions being submitted through the Zoom account today. The first question that we have for you is, what are the top resources at Holy Cross that any student that wants to work in the business world should take advantage of?
Well, that's a wonderful question. And I'm going to lead off with major in anything, succeed in business. So any major, and we have a wide swath of majors that take our business certificate programs. There are, of course, business related classes and even majors here. Accounting and economics are the two obvious ones. Sociology, psychology classes are very, very attuned to business. I mean, one of them is, psychology is how we think and act as individuals. And sociology, of course, is how we behave in a pack or a community or a market. That's describing kind of a business environment as well as markets that businesses serve. So those are all great classes to take. Beyond that, I would say any class that emphasizes group work, critical thinking, like cause and effect and space of possibilities type thinking, writing and communication skills, all super, super beneficial to the domain of business.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. Another question we have is, are you looking for presenters on the topic of business and ethics?
Funny that someone should ask that. So I started teaching the business ethics workshop. It's a half a day workshop. In fact, it's going to happen Saturday. I teach it twice a semester. Given the fact that I teach a course and I wear two hats here in the center, that is a workshop I would love to hand off to an alumni that's enthusiastic about maybe taking that workshop over. So that's one specific opportunity that I can mention for sure.
Wonderful. And if folks do want to take advantage of that, how would they best get in contact with you or someone from your department?
I mean, the easiest thing is get out your pen. So my email is pretty easy. It's my first initial R and then my last name, Murner. And that's like Turner, but with an M. Murner, rmurner at holycross.edu. You could also go to the Holy Cross website and search my name. Or you could just search Ciocca and you're going to find the whole team. Myself, Cassie Givry, and Gabe Coyne Martinez, who's our marketing manager.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. The next question is, how do you integrate business and liberal arts to give Holy Cross an edge?
I have kind of a long, this one, since I had it in advance, I have kind of a long answer. So bear with me. It's a great question. So basically, we count on the student's core degree to develop their critical thinking, communication, and interpersonal skills. For us to try to take that on would actually be redundant for sure, and really not as good as what they're getting in their core education. The spirit of men and women for others, which is also part of the core learning here at Holy Cross. I mean, it's key, in my view, definitely to advancing within companies and positioning them for leadership. And I hear that from alumni all the time. In fact, we were at KeyBank a week ago, and that was Brendan Grady, who you saw the picture of. And one of the people at KeyBank has a daughter here, but he is not a liberal arts student and not from Holy Cross, obviously. And the students were asking questions, about basically, well, how can I be competitive for an internship? How did you guys do it? Right? You're all liberal arts majors. And in that conversation, I believe the gentleman's name was Kevin. He basically took that on and he said, basically everybody comes in with a clean slate. Didn't matter where you went to college. We're going to teach you how to do it. And then he ended it with, and by the way, we all end up working for a liberal arts boss. So and I think that's really tied to the men and women for others. So our programs, we strive to build on their education while immersing the students in the alumni community and their work environments. So programs like our ethics workshops and our new global entrepreneurship workshop, which emphasizes empathy for the stakeholders and the creation of win-win solutions. And then also Art's book, those 5 pillars, which I read off to you quickly, those are right square in the center of kind of an ethical win-win entrepreneur's mindset or approach to business. So we really try to find the way to kind of mesh with the existing education. If I had to pick one thing though, that I would say the students benefit the most from, where they can actually answer this question, we're constantly immersing them in the alumni community, and the alumni are answering that question directly for them, and they are the proof that what they say is true.
What a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. And I can tell you prepared ahead of time, so I can appreciate
Yeah,
it
sorry
as
about
well.
that.
No worries at all. Our next question is, will the center offer any initiatives around or exploration of data ethics as impacts from the data discipline grow?
So I took that question to mean personal data, sharing of personal data, mining of personal data, like individuals. The center does not really offer anything on how to do that, nor do we take a stand one way or another on it. We do, with this new data analytics course that Bo Lescott is teaching, we do take a deep dive into data analytics, but it's all really focused on, how would a business use analytics about their core business in order to understand their markets and performance and streamlining and things like that. So we don't do anything, nor do we have any plans to. I am always open to hearing. I would be surprised though if this was not a topic in some of the core courses that are being offered in the college.
Thank you for that. We'll take one more of the pre-submitted questions and then switch to two of our live questions here. So the next question is, how can alums support the mission of the center?
Well, you can get engaged with the students through Alumni Huddle. Financial support is always appreciated, as I mentioned. Like so, on Giving Day is always a convenient time. Again, because we are self-funded. Bo Lescott actually came up with a course idea that he sold me on, and we piloted it, and well, doggone it, now we're doing it. So those are always opportunities. Those are kind of few and far between, though. I mean, we can only do so many workshops in a year, and apply them to our certificate programs. The clubs themselves. So I mentioned Alumni Huddle as a way to get involved, but one of the things, if you're in Huddle or you're interested in putting yourself in there and saying, yeah, I want to mentor a certain club, I'm a little surprised at how the students aren't all over the alumni. I mean, I really thought that they would just be reaching out to the alumni. So if you're in Alumni Huddle and you want to be involved with the students, then be proactive, and reach down to the students. There's networking events, there's speaking opportunities, there are fireside chat opportunities. There's all sorts of things that the alumni, that the clubs are dreaming up. The sales club, for instance, does a networking event at the Woo Sox baseball field, and they rent out we help them with the cost of that, but they rent out one of the boxes and they have it catered. So that's a really, really great way to get involved. If you're part of a business that might want to have our students be at your facility for networking event, that's always appreciated. And then, of course, we're always looking to keep our companies fresh on the 2 boot camps that we visit as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We'll switch to some of the questions that have been submitted live. A twofer from Alan Service. The first part being, how are the Holy Cross faculty involved and what do they think of the center? Followed by the second part of the question is, does the definition of business being used here encompass the nonprofit sector?
Mm-hmm. Two great questions. So I do interact with a lot of faculty because I guess technically as an adjunct or a visiting lecturer, I am part of the faculty, so I'm kind of included in a lot of that stuff. And I can tell you that I have not spoken to one professor who was not an advocate of the Ciocca Center. There was a time, this funding has expired, where the Ciocca, Art and Carly Ciocca, and the Koch Foundation were kind of jointly providing some restricted funding. That did cause a bit of a stir a couple times in our faculty community. It was resolved both times, and and President Burrows and President Rougeau handled it, I think, very gracefully. That is no longer kind of a sticking point with the faculty, though, because that funding is the funding I'm referring to that expired last summer. And then the Ethics, Society, and Institution of Business minor, which my course is one of the requirements for. The center, we work very interactively with the professors that are part of that minor. So I would say the professors here are all about the students, just like the center is. Yeah. And then the second question was,
does the definition of business being used here encompass the nonprofit sector?
Yes, it does. We do not have a specific workshop, however, that focuses on nonprofit, and that could be a blind spot for us. And I would be open to any thoughts or suggestions. Maybe this is a way an alum might want to get involved, to kind of do that, have something to offer there.
Thank you for that. And the last question we'll take from the live submissions is from Stacy Woods. Many parents have told me that their student would have applied to Holy Cross, but they wanted a business school. What are you doing to market the Ciocca Center / business certificate to high school students who don't consider Holy Cross a business school?
Yeah, another great question. We don't do any proactive marketing out to kind of the high school community. I meet an awful lot of parents and students at the open houses. I field a lot of Zoom requests with parents of high school students, and their child sometimes is on the Zoom, sometimes not. And that is typically the question. We have a lot of athletes that come here for our D1 sports. And I meet a lot of the athletes and their parents and the coaches because they have the same exact question. And the way I handle it is I kind of turn it back on the student and I ask them what they're interested in and why might they be interested in liberal arts to begin with. Sometimes when it's an athlete, they don't really have a distinct answer there. I find that the non-athlete students definitely do. I talk about my perspective as a non-liberal arts student and looking at the type of students for certain roles that I would hire out of college. And kind of like we heard on down in Midtown with the banking and finance firms, when they said, look, when you come in, the degree and the school doesn't really matter. We're going to teach you how to do it. They're really looking for students with intelligence, initiative or energy, and integrity. And, Warren Buffett always jokes, if they don't have integrity, then you better hope you hired them dumb and lazy. So, it's really, and then I have countless examples. Joanna Garrity, I just introduced, is just one of them, but there are so many examples of very successful liberal arts majors through not more than just Holy Cross. So yeah, we don't actively market to answer that question, but we are having a really good success rate when we engage with the students and at least convince them that the certificate programs combined with the liberal arts education is extremely powerful, both through proof statements of alumni and through our own experiences.
Thank you. It's all very exciting when we think about this and the strategic future of the college. So exciting topics. One of our pre-submitted questions touches on what might be done to accommodate fall and spring athletes as we think about all these exciting offerings and how they might be able to participate despite having a restricted schedule.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Larry Doyle is on this call because, boy, talk about a softball question. We recognize, especially for the football team, that whose players might want to go into finance and banking. Our fall boot camp is right in the middle of football season, and they cannot miss a practice. It's during the week, so they wouldn't miss a game. But so it's really counted out a lot of, I think, swimmers. They have a lot of swim meets that kind of fall in that period as well. Football for sure. maybe even basketball. So one thing that we're doing there is we're doing something called a mini boot camp, where it's going to be like a what it's structured. We're building this right now, but we're going to have maybe a networking session where we'll take them down on a bus that night, and then we'll see 3 companies the next day and bring them back. And we've actually engaged with, if anybody's heard of 90 Wide, which is the kind of the athletes mentorship program. It was started by the football team. uh, we're literally leaning on them, saying if you can find the places to go and you can organize it on your end, we'll pay for it. We'll get them down there. That's one example of what we're doing, and where we recognize other things that might be tough for athletes. Depending on what it is that's in the way, we oftentimes substitute it. In other words, like if you can't do workshop A, we think workshop B is pretty good too for the certificate you're doing. And oftentimes we can solve it that way. But where we see other opportunities, like we're doing with the mini boot camp, we'll be trying to take advantage of those as well. So thank you for that question. That's something we're building right now.
Wonderful. And the last question, before seeing if you have any final thoughts to leave us with, outlines how graduate schools may be actually receiving students that have been participating in the many programs and offerings from the center. Do you have any success stories that you've seen from students that have ultimately gone on to business school, but have participated in these many offerings? And if so, could you talk about that a little bit?
Wow. So I'm in halfway through my 3rd year as the director. And I know Cassie's listening, so Cassie, please take this down. This would really be a good thing to know. I have met plenty of Holy Cross alum that have gone on to get their master's degrees. But the ones I've met and interacted with, they were before our business programs. But just judging on the number that I meet, I gotta believe that there's been in the 10 years or so that we've had these programs, precedes me with Dr. Chu. David Chu was the prior director. I gotta believe that we have some examples of that. I feel kind of bad. I really don't have an answer for that right now. One thing I will say though is that I hear the question a lot when we've got students in front of alumni saying, so is it a good idea to graduate and then just go get my master's degree? And it's really mixed answers. It depends on what the students want to do, whether that's a, yeah, you really should do that. But I hear just as often, is even in finance and banking, is like, you'd be better off going for your certification specific to what it is you're doing, get some work under your belt. And then if you see value in a master's program, then go. I mean, I'm an MBA, so I'm a believer in it. But that's something that we should start keeping track of, and I'm sorry that we don't. That's a great question.
It just means more room for improvement as we think about the evolution of this wonderful program and its many offerings. And I'd venture to guess there's many success stories. We just have yet to uncover them. With that being said, I acknowledge we have 2 minutes left in our webinar. Are there any final thoughts you would like to leave with the many folks that are participating on the call today?
Oh, yes, definitely. So love to hear from you. I love hearing about how you, alumni, got from your degree to where you're at in life now. It's so valuable for me personally and for what we do at the center. And then, I'm your go-to guy for, hey, I got an idea. Like already we just took one, right? Let's understand, the how many people are moving into an MBA that took our programs. Great, great thought. Any of that kind of stuff is valuable. We're always looking at continually improving. And then I'll just say, as a very proud University of Michigan alum, that I have never seen an alumni community as proactive and passionate as the Holy Cross alum. It blows my mind. You guys really are, in my opinion, you are like, you're a big selling point to come to Holy Cross, no doubt about it. So thank you, and you make our lives here so much fun and quite a bit easier because you're so involved.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end things. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been wonderful to hear about all the hard work that not only you, but your team are putting in to supporting our students and preparing them for the world of business. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to the many attendees that we had join us. Again, I hope to see many of you on November 9th for our President's Council event. And last but certainly not least, thank you to the many folks that helped to arrange the logistics and making this a successful webinar for you all today. I look forward to us hosting many more and wish you all a good evening. Thank you and good night.